I'm Bev Adams. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! I'd like to show you these cards this time. I have a simple version all the way up to a stepped up version. The supplies you'll need are the same. For this one, I stamped right on here. For these two, I used this white layer as these pieces for my elements. I used Hold On to Hope and the coordinating Cross of Hope. If you're making the simplest version, you will not need the framelits. For this one, I used a different greeting. I used Balloon Celebration, but any greeting that you might have. And for the stepped up version, I used the window box thinlits. I have a piece of powder pink, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have a layer of Flirty Flamingo that is 5 1/4 by 4, and a layer of Whisper White that is 5 by 3 3/4. And you'll either layer this or just stamp and cut up on this one. My ink is Pear Pizzazz, and then I am using the Stampin' Right marker that's Flirty Flamingo, and you'll want a blender pen as well. So I'm going to stamp this image, and there are 4 flowers that I'm going to use the blender pen to pull off the ink from. You might want a scrap of paper around that you can just clean off your blender pen with. If you have a hard time finding the flowers, you might try looking on here. And of course, I guess if you wanted to just use green, that would be okay. But I think it really adds a lot to have some flowers in Flirty Flamingo. So I'm using the thick end, the brush end of the marker. And I have Bud and Micah joining me here in my stamping studio. I hope it's not too distracting to hear them. So I'm going to stamp here. Quiet. If you're doing the simple version, you're going to stamp your greeting underneath and the other flower right here. But I'm going to do the stepped up version. So I'm going to ink the leaf. I don't know if you saw it, I just really hit the edge of that stamp on the stamp pad so I don't have to take off all the ink. And then I'm going to color the flower. I guess this is a chrysanthemum. And then because I'm going to cut this out, I'm going to stamp this over here. I'm going to stamp God is Love over here. And it looks like I need another piece of scrap. And I just realized if you are doing this version, you will need another scrap of powder pink cardstock. So I've just grabbed some of these. So now I've pulled in my Big Shot. I'm using the magnetic platform, but you could use the regular platform with the thin die adapter. I have my stamped images. And for the stepped up version, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And because I wasn't being very wise with my pieces, I've got my other scrap. Cover that up and run it through the Big Shot. And you may want to use the precision base plate, especially for this piece. We'll be cutting out the Flirty Flamingo piece with the window box thinlits. And so I'm going to place that this way with the pointy ends going up. It's pretty easy to center my sides. And I'll cut out my cross from the powder pink, cover it with another layer. And you may want to use the die brush. And that gets almost all the pieces out. You may have just a few to poke. Next, I'm going to use Gidget's Bow Maker. If you would like a bow maker from Gidget, come on over to my website, bevadams.com, and look for products by Bev, or maybe it's products from Bev, I forget. But you can make a perfect bow. I'm using about 12 inches of the Retiring Powder Pink ribbon. And for this one, I've separated out one space between my posts. But the bows are really easy to make. You cross one side over the other. The side that goes over the top goes in and around. And just tie it, make sure it's in the middle, and then just tie a knot. Just a simple overhand knot. Tie it tight, slide it up over your base, and you have a beautiful ribbon. Now we have the elements of our card. You may decide to just layer them like this, and you can put the ribbon around either the white or the Flirty Flamingo layer. You may decide to put your elements on a plain piece of Flirty Flamingo without the window. You may want to add God is Love. You may want to add that cutout, which is what I'm going to do for this one. And so I'm going to wrap around my ribbon by just putting a little adhesive on the back. I want to make sure that bow is in the middle and wrap the ends around the back. I can decide whether I want to put this flat or put it up on dimensionals. And I want to be sure that the cutout images stays up. So I'm going to put some dimensionals closer to that cutout. I'm going to make the most stepped up version, so I'm getting out my silicone craft mat and adding just a little bit of the multi-purpose liquid glue. You could use the fine tip glue pen as well, or you could also use the adhesive sheets before cutting this out. That works great too. And of course that's a perfect fit. More dimensionals on the back of the cross, and put that. Dimensionals on the back of my banner. And I think I'm going to slip that under the cross a little bit. And kind of draping my flowers under the cross and a little bit over, and dimensionals on the back of this. And so that's the stepped up version. Not too hard. If you would like the full directions, they're free. Come on over to bevadams.com. The direct link is right here on the video or down below in the description on YouTube. Thank you for stopping by. Talk to you soon.